101 Ways to Please Your Boss and Get Promoted. The Silent Skills That Get You Noticed First. Audiobook. Reading by Coleman Hudson. Published by A1 Audiobook. Introduction. The Performance Paradox. Lucas felt a familiar knot tighten in his stomach. It was the end of the quarter, the day the promotion announcements went out. For the 6th time in a row, he scanned the all-staff email, his eyes jumping past the congratulations and corporate cheerleading, searching for a name that wasn't there, his own. And for the 6th time, he found nothing. Later that afternoon, his boss, Rebecca, called him in for a perfunctory career development chat. The feedback was a masterclass in vague praise. "Lucas, your work is rock solid," she began, leaning back in her chair. "Everyone knows if we need something done right and on time, you're the person to ask. The team depends on you." He nodded, waiting for the but. It always came. "But," she said, "for that next level, we're looking for more strategic input, more leadership." She trailed off, offering a sympathetic smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just keep doing what you're doing. You'll get there." Lucas walked back to his desk feeling a unique mix of invisible and infuriated. "Keep doing what I'm doing," he thought. "I'm doing everything they ask of me. I was the first one in, the last one out. His reports were flawless. He hit every deadline. He was the very definition of a model employee. He was doing his job and doing it exceptionally well. So why did he feel like he was running in place?" If Lucas's story feels familiar, you are not alone. You are caught in a trap that snares millions of hardworking, talented, and ambitious professionals. I call it the performance paradox. The mistaken belief that doing your assigned job, even doing it exceptionally well, is the primary driver of career advancement. We are raised on this belief. From our first summer job to our first corporate role, the message is the same. Put your head down, do the work, and you will be rewarded. But the modern workplace operates on a different, unspoken set of rules. While good performance is the ticket to entry, it is not the ticket to the next level. The promotion you want isn't being given to the person who is best at their current job. It's being given to the person the leadership trusts to handle the challenges of the next job. And that is a completely different game. The problem defined: your boss's brain. To understand why the paradox exists, you have to understand the one thing you were never taught in school: how your boss's brain works. Forget their title for a moment. Your manager is not just a manager. They are a human being whose mind, like yours, is a finite resource. Every single day, they are drowning in a sea of decisions, risks, and ambiguities. Their real, unspoken job is not just to manage people and projects. Their job is to manage complexity. They are constantly asking themselves questions like, is that big project on track? Or is there a hidden problem I don't know about? Did my team understand the new directive, or are they all spinning their wheels? I have 2 massive problems to solve by Friday. Which one do I tackle first? Their mental bandwidth is their most valuable asset. And here is the secret that will change your career forever. They don't promote the people who just do their job well. They promote the people who make their job easier. They don't reward the people who bring them more complexity. They reward the people who bring them clarity, stability, and solutions. They reward the people who, by their very presence, lower the collective anxiety of the team and the organization. The promise? The anchor effect. This is not a book about becoming a sycophant. This is not about fetching coffee, laughing at bad jokes, or finding 101 ways to flatter your boss. That approach is transparent, demeaning, and worst of all, ineffective. It adds no real value. This book is about something far more powerful. It's about becoming indispensable. I'm going to teach you a system called the anchor effect. Think about the purpose of an anchor on a ship. In a calm sea, it's barely needed. But when the winds howl and the waves crash, the anchor is the single most important tool on board. It provides stability. It prevents the ship from being swept away by the current. It creates a fixed point of reliability in a world of chaos. In any organization, some people are like kites, flying high on ideas but easily blown off course. Others are like rockets, full of brilliant energy but occasionally erratic and explosive. And some are like ghosts, competent but utterly invisible. But the most valuable people, the ones who get the quiet nod in promotion meetings, the ones who are given the most important projects, the ones whose opinions are sought before a big decision is made, are anchors. Anchors are a force that reduces complexity, absorbs uncertainty, and creates clarity. They are the most reliable people in the room, not just for their work product, but for their judgment, their foresight, and their communication. They don't just do the work, they stabilize the work for everyone around them. Becoming an anchor is the silent skill that gets you noticed first. It is the most direct path to earning the trust and respect that are prerequisites for any meaningful promotion. The roadmap, your path to becoming an anchor. I have spent over a decade observing, interviewing, and coaching the individuals who seem to rise effortlessly through their organizations. They weren't always the most naturally gifted, the most charismatic, or the most visionary, but they all shared a set of core behaviors that produced the anchor effect. This book will deconstruct those behaviors into a practical, learnable system. We will move far beyond the myth of the performance paradox and give you a new playbook for professional growth. The anchor effect is built upon 3 foundational principles, and the chapters of this book are organized to help you master each one. See the signal. Anchors are masters of anticipation. They don't just react to what's in front of them, they see around corners. You will learn to think 2 levels up, understand the question behind the question, and solve problems before your boss even knows they exist. Own the outcome. Anchors cultivate radical reliability. This goes beyond just meeting deadlines. You will learn how to make unbreakable promises, present solutions instead of problems, and disagree productively, earning deep, authentic trust. Amplify the clarity. Anchors are a source of clarity, not noise. In a world of information overload, this is a superpower. You will learn to master the art of concise communication, close the loop to eliminate managerial anxiety, and make the complex simple for everyone around you. The path to your next promotion and to a more fulfilling, impactful career is not about working harder. It's not about pleasing your boss in the traditional sense. It's about fundamentally changing how you approach your work and how you create value. It's about becoming the person your leaders can't afford to lose. It's time to stop feeling invisible. It's time to stop waiting for your hard work to be noticed. It's time to become an anchor. Chapter 1. Beyond the job description. Why good enough never is. Let's be honest. Your job description is a lie. Not a malicious one, but a lie of omission. It's a well-intentioned document written by HR that lists your duties and responsibilities. It tells you what you are supposed to do. Manage client accounts, write code, develop marketing campaigns, analyze data. It's the map you're given on your first day. The problem is, it's a map of a single island in a vast, uncharted ocean. And your boss isn't just paying you to tend the gardens on that island. They are paying you to help them navigate the entire ocean. Consider Alicia, a brilliant software developer at a fast-growing tech firm. Her job description was simple. Write, test, and deploy clean, efficient code. And she was a master at it. When Alicia was assigned a feature, she would disappear into a state of deep focus. 2 weeks later, like magic, she would emerge with perfectly architected code that worked flawlessly. Her performance reviews were always the same. Exceeds expectations in technical skill. Yet like Lucas from our introduction, she was consistently passed over for the role of team lead.
Why? Because while Alicia was building perfect features, her manager, David, was living in a state of quiet panic for those 2 weeks. He had no idea if she was on track, if she had hit a roadblock, or if she had even started. To David, Alicia's projects were a black box. He had to spend his own mental energy managing the stakeholder expectations and fending off questions he couldn't answer. When he finally got her brilliant code, his primary feeling wasn't admiration, it was relief. Alicia was acing her job description, but she was failing at her real, unwritten job: to reduce her manager's cognitive load. The iceberg model of your job. Think of your role as an iceberg. The 10% that pokes above the water is your formal job description, the tasks, the deadlines, the tangible outputs. This is what everyone sees. This is what you're trained for. The 90% of the iceberg lurking below the surface is the unwritten job. It's a messy, complex, and deeply human collection of your manager's and your organization's hidden needs. It's made of things like reducing uncertainty, anticipating problems, creating psychological safety for your leader, simplifying complexity, saving them from having to make another decision, making the entire team more effective.
The people who get stuck in their careers are the ones who spend their lives polishing the tip of the iceberg. They do their assigned tasks better and better, wondering why the ship of opportunity keeps sailing right past them. The people who advance, the people who become anchors, understand that their true value lies in addressing the massive, hidden structure below the waterline. They don't just do their job, they solve the problems that their job exists to solve. Inside your manager's brain, a world of limited bandwidth. To address that hidden 90%, you must first understand the environment your manager operates in. Scientific research gives us a clear window into the immense pressure they face. First, there's cognitive load. Think of your brain's working memory as the RAM on your computer. It's the space where you hold and manipulate information to get things done. Like RAM, it's a finite resource. When you have too many apps open at once, unanswered questions, ambiguous project statuses, potential risks, your system slows down. Performance plummets. Stress skyrockets. Your manager lives in a state of perpetual cognitive overload. They're juggling their own tasks, your team's projects, pressure from their own boss, and a dozen other variables. Every time you ask a vague question, provide a rambling update, or hand them a problem without a potential solution, you are opening another app in their brain, consuming their precious RAM. Second, this leads to decision fatigue. In a now famous study led by psychologist Roy Baumeister, researchers found that our ability to make good decisions is a depletable resource. Like a muscle, it gets tired from overuse. Your manager makes hundreds of decisions a day, from tiny, like should I reply to this email now, to massive, like should we pivot our entire strategy. By the time they get to a decision about your project or your career, their decision-making muscle may already be exhausted. An employee who brings them a clearly defined problem with 2 or 3 well-thought-out solutions is not just being helpful, they are conserving their manager's most valuable resource. They are giving a tired muscle a much-needed break. Finally, there's a powerful psychological principle called the Zeigarnik effect. Discovered by Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, it describes the brain's tendency to remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed tasks. These unfinished tasks create intrusive, nagging thoughts, a kind of mental pop-up ad that won't go away. When your manager gives you a task and doesn't hear from you, the Zeigarnik effect kicks in. Is Caleb working on that report? Did he run into a problem? Will it be done on time? That task remains an open loop in their mind, draining their mental energy until they get confirmation that it's closed. Alicia, our brilliant coder, was an expert at creating open loops. When you understand these forces, you realize that your boss's primary, unspoken need is simple. They need relief. They need people who close loops, simplify decisions, and lower the overall cognitive load of the team. They need people who bring clarity, not chaos. Value visibility. It's not what you do, it's what they see. This brings us to a crucial concept that separates the anchors from the pack. Value visibility is ensuring your contributions are not only made, but are also seen and understood in the context of your manager's primary goals and pressures. This is not about bragging. It's not about sending self-congratulatory emails listing your accomplishments. That's just creating more noise. Value visibility is strategic communication. It's about signaling. Low visibility, Alicia. I'll get it done. 2 weeks of silence later, here is the completed code. Value was created, but it was invisible until the last second, causing anxiety. High visibility, an anchor. Got it. My plan is to tackle it in 3 stages. I'll send you a one-line update at the end of stage 1, so you know it's on track. Value is being created, and its progress is made visible at a low-effort, high-impact frequency, closing the loop for the manager. The anchor's approach didn't take much extra time, but it paid down their manager's mental debt. It replaced anxiety with confidence. The work itself was the same, but the delivery of the work was fundamentally different. It was designed not just to complete a task, but to reduce cognitive load. Doing a good job is the baseline. It's the good enough that keeps you employed, but it will never be enough to get you promoted. True advancement comes from moving beyond your job description and starting to do the real, unwritten job, making the complex simple, making the uncertain certain, and becoming a source of stability in a sea of chaos. This is the foundation of the anchor effect.
In the next chapter, we will lay out the blueprint for how you can become that indispensable person. Chapter 1 Summary. The Takeaway. The job versus the real job. Your formal job description is just the tip of the iceberg. Your real, unwritten job is to reduce complexity and cognitive load for your manager and your organization. Your manager's hidden world. Your boss is managing finite mental resources. They are battling cognitive load, decision fatigue, and the anxiety of open loops, the Zeigarnik effect, every day. Good enough is a trap. Simply performing your tasks well can still add to your manager's cognitive load if it's done in a black box, creating uncertainty. Master value visibility. To advance, your value must be visible. This isn't about bragging. It's about strategically communicating your work in a way that provides clarity, builds confidence, and closes mental loops for your leaders. From insight to action. Map your manager's anxiety. For the next 3 days, listen carefully in team meetings and one-on-ones. What questions does your manager ask repeatedly? What's the status on X? Are we sure about Y? These questions are signposts pointing directly to their biggest anxieties and open loops. Write them down. Conduct a clarity audit. Look at the last 3 emails you sent to your boss. Did they provide a clear update or ask a question that required them to do more thinking? Could you have rephrased anything to make it simpler, or even propose a solution instead of just stating a problem? Practice closing one loop. This week, pick one small task you've been assigned. When you complete it, don't just say, "Done." Send a brief, clear message like, "Hi boss, just letting you know the report for Project Atlas is complete and saved in the shared drive. No action is needed from you. Let me know if you have any questions." Feel the power of explicitly closing a loop.
Chapter 2. The Anchor Effect, Becoming the Most Reliable Person in the Room. It was 4:45 p.m. on a Thursday when the email landed in everyone's inbox. The subject line was a single, terrifying word: urgent. The message was from the CTO. The critical server migration planned for that weekend, the culmination of 6 months of work known as Project Phoenix, had hit a catastrophic, unforeseen snag. The third-party vendor had just discovered a fundamental incompatibility. The entire project was at risk of a multi-week delay with financial penalties looming. The team's chat channel exploded. Panic set in. Liam, the team's brilliant but volatile engineer, started firing off messages. "This is a disaster. I told them that vendor was unreliable. We're going to have to rebuild the entire integration module from scratch. This is going to be an all-nighter, maybe an all-weekender." His messages were technically correct, but they poured gasoline on the fire. Chloe, a steady and competent analyst, went silent. Her icon on the chat turned idle.
In a crisis, she tended to retreat, quietly doing her assigned work but offering nothing to solve the larger chaos. The team's manager, Evelyn, felt her chest tighten. Her boss was probably already on his way to her desk. She had a dozen panicked stakeholders to manage and no clear path forward. The noise was deafening. And then a new message appeared. It was from Daniel, a mid-level project manager. It read, "This is a serious challenge, but it's solvable. I've just read the vendor's technical brief. The core issue is with the authentication protocol. Liam is right that it's a major problem, but a full rebuild might not be our only option. I have an idea for a workaround that might get us 80% of the way there. Give me 15 minutes to sketch it out. Evelyn, I can walk you through it before you have to update leadership." The channel went quiet. The panic didn't vanish, but it subsided. Daniel's calm, steady voice had cut through the noise. He hadn't solved the entire problem in that one message, but he had done something far more important. He had created a single point of stability in a storm. He had given his panic manager a moment to breathe and a clear next step. Daniel had become the anchor. This is the anchor effect in action. It's the ability to become the person who, in moments of pressure, chaos, and uncertainty, provides psychological stability, clarity, and forward momentum.
It's about being the most reliable person in the room, not just for your work, but for your presence. From doer to anchor, a fundamental shift. In Chapter 1, we established that your real job is to reduce your manager's cognitive load. The anchor effect is the system for doing exactly that. It marks the shift from being a doer to being an anchor. A doer is transactional. They receive a task, complete the task, and await the next task. They are judged on the quality and timeliness of their output. This is the world of the performance paradox, where good work is expected but not always rewarded with advancement. An anchor is transformational. They understand the context behind the task. They anticipate needs, absorb pressure, and translate chaos into order. They are judged not just on their output, but on their impact on the team's stability and effectiveness. Anchors directly counteract the hidden pressures on your boss. They fight cognitive load by simplifying complex information. They ease decision fatigue by presenting solutions, not just problems. They defeat the Zeigarnik effect by proactively closing communication loops. Becoming an anchor is the single most powerful way to make yourself indispensable. To make it clearer, let's look at the other archetypes you'll find in any office. The 4 workplace archetypes. Where do you fit? In my experience coaching professionals, I've seen that most people fall into one of 4 primary archetypes. Seeing them clearly helps you understand where you are now and where you need to go. The rocket. Rockets are brilliant, creative, and full of energy. They generate amazing ideas and can accomplish incredible feats of work in short bursts. But they are often unpredictable. They might miss a key detail, burn out, or create interpersonal friction. Managing a rocket is exciting but exhausting. They generate as much heat and noise as they do light. This was Liam. The brick. Bricks are the definition of reliable. Up to a point. They are dependable, steady, and will execute a well-defined task perfectly time and time again. But they are resistant to change. They don't innovate, and they rarely think beyond the exact instructions they were given. Managing a brick is safe but limiting. They hold their ground, but they don't help you advance. The ghost. Ghosts are competent, sometimes even highly skilled, but they are invisible. They do their work quietly and effectively, but they have no presence. They never speak up in meetings. They don't build relationships outside their immediate duties, and their contributions are often absorbed into the larger project without recognition. They don't cause problems, but they don't solve any unasked for ones either. They are easy to forget. This was Chloe. The anchor. Anchors combine the best qualities of the other archetypes. They have the drive of the rocket, but temper it with stability. They have the reliability of the brick, but are adaptable and forward-thinking. And unlike the ghost, they make their value visible through masterful communication and strategic foresight. They are a force multiplier, making everyone around them calmer and more effective. This was Daniel. The crucial difference is that while rockets, bricks, and ghosts are defined by their actions, anchors are defined by their effect. Your goal is not to stop being a talented engineer or a reliable analyst. It is to layer the skills of an anchor on top of your core competencies. The 3 pillars of the anchor effect. So how do you do it? How do you consciously cultivate this effect? The rest of this book is dedicated to teaching you the 3 core principles, the pillars that create the anchor effect. These are the silent skills that will get you noticed first. Pillar 1, see the signal. This is the pillar of proactivity and foresight. Anchors don't just respond to what's happening, they anticipate what's coming next. They train themselves to see the patterns, risks, and opportunities that others miss. They do this by thinking 2 levels up, understanding the question behind the question, and cultivating a deep sense of curiosity. They see the signal through the noise. Pillar 2, own the outcome. This is the pillar of radical reliability and accountability. Anchors take ownership far beyond their job description. They don't just identify problems, they present solutions. They manage expectations flawlessly, making their word their bond. And critically, they know how to push back productively, demonstrating the courage and judgment that is the hallmark of a true leader. Pillar 3, amplify the clarity. This is the pillar of masterful communication. Anchors are a source of clarity, not noise. They understand that communication is not about what they say, but about what the other person hears and understands. They master the arts of concise updates, closing the loop to ease anxiety, and synthesizing complex information into simple, actionable insights. These 3 pillars, working in concert, are what produce the anchor effect. They are what turn a good employee into an indispensable leader. They are not about a personality transplant. They are a set of skills you can learn, practice, and master, starting today. Chapter 2, Summary, the takeaway. The anchor effect, the ability to provide psychological stability, clarity, and forward momentum during times of pressure. It's about becoming the most reliable person in the room. Doer versus anchor. A doer is transactional and focuses on tasks. An anchor is transformational and focuses on their impact on the team's stability and effectiveness. The 4 archetypes. Most professionals fall into one of 4 types: the brilliant but erratic rocket, the steady but rigid brick, the competent but invisible ghost, or the stabilizing and indispensable anchor. The 3 pillars. The anchor effect is built on 3 learnable skills that form the roadmap for the rest of this book. 1. See the signal, foresight. 2. Own the outcome, accountability. 3. Amplify the clarity, communication. From insight to action, identify the archetypes. This week, observe your team without judgment. Can you spot a rocket, a brick, or a ghost? Who is the closest thing to an anchor? Notice what they do and say in meetings and in team chats. How do people react to them? This isn't about labeling people, but about recognizing the patterns of behavior in a real-world setting. Conduct an honest self-assessment. On a piece of paper, draw a simple spectrum for each archetype: rocket, brick, or ghost. Where do you think you fall most of the time? Where do you land under pressure? For example, on daily tasks, I'm mostly a brick. But when a new exciting project starts, my inner rocket comes out. This self-awareness is the first step toward intentional change. Practice a 1-degree shift. You can't become an anchor overnight. Identify one small action you can take this week that moves you 1 degree closer to anchor. For example, if you tend to be a ghost, vow to speak just once in your next team meeting, even if it's just to agree with someone and add 1 supporting thought. If you tend to be a rocket, before sending your next big idea email, pause for 5 minutes, reread it, and ask,
How can I make this less alarming and more actionable for the person receiving it? Principle 1. See the signal. The first principle of the anchor effect is the one that separates the doers from the strategists. It is the art of seeing what others miss. In any work environment, there are two types of information: noise and signal. Noise is the daily chatter, the urgent but unimportant emails, the distracting office gossip, the endless stream of notifications. It's loud, demanding, and it keeps you busy. It's what most people spend 90% of their day reacting to. Signal is the quiet, underlying pattern. It's the subtle shift in a client's tone, the recurring question from a senior leader, the small but growing risk in a project plan. The signal is predictive. It hints at the future. People who are caught in the performance paradox are masters of managing noise. Anchors, on the other hand, have trained themselves to see the signal. This ability to anticipate, to see the problem before it becomes a crisis, to see the opportunity before it's announced, is what makes them invaluable. The next 3 chapters will teach you how to tune your mind to see the signal. You will learn to move from being a reactive problem solver to a proactive opportunity finder. You will learn to see around corners. Chapter 3. The Art of Anticipation: How to Solve Problems Before They Happen. Brenda and Keith were both asked to do the same task: order some new banners for the upcoming trade show. Keith, a classic doer, immediately got to work. He found the company's preferred vendor, checked the specs from last year's event, and placed an order for 3 new banners with the updated company logo. He completed the task in under an hour and proudly messaged his boss, "Done." Brenda, on the other hand, paused. Before opening a single vendor website, she asked herself 2 questions. What is the real goal of this trade show, and what could go wrong? She knew the company was launching a new software service. Her first thought was that the old messaging might be outdated. She then considered the logistics. She remembered that at last year's show, the lighting in their assigned booth was terrible, making the dark blue banners nearly impossible to read. She messaged her boss, "Quick question on the trade show banners. Since our main goal is launching Project Orion, I'm thinking our tagline, 'Reliable since 2015, might not be the right message. Also, I remember the lighting was dim last year. Would a brighter, high-contrast design be better?"
I can have the design team mock up 2 options, if you like. Her boss was floored. He had been so swamped he hadn't even considered those things. Brenda hadn't just completed a task, she had prevented a strategic error, wrong messaging, and a practical failure, unreadable banners. Keith did the job. Brenda added value. That is the power of anticipation. From reaction to foresight. Second-order thinking. Anticipation is not a mystical gift. It's a thinking discipline. The most powerful tool for developing it is second-order thinking. Most people think in a straight line. This is first-order thinking. We missed a deadline. Consequence, the client will be upset. This is reactive. You are solving the immediate problem. Second-order thinking asks the crucial follow-up question, and then what happens? We missed a deadline, first-order consequence, the client will be upset, and then what happens? Second-order consequence, the client might lose trust in our ability to deliver on the bigger project next quarter. Our competitor, who always delivers on time, might use this as an opening. We could lose the contract renewal. Suddenly, the problem isn't just an upset client. The problem is millions of dollars in future revenue at risk. An employee who only sees the first-order consequence will apologize. An employee who sees the second-order consequence will say, "I'll call the client to apologize, and I've also drafted a revised project plan with a 10% buffer to rebuild their confidence for the renewal." That is the difference between an employee and a partner. You can apply this to any decision. Let's rush to release this new software feature. First order, the customer gets a new feature sooner. Second order, we might introduce unforeseen bugs damaging our reputation for quality and creating more work for the support team, which is already swamped. The question behind the question. The second habit of anticipatory thinkers is looking for the question behind the question, QBQ. When your boss asks for something, they are often making a request that is a proxy for a deeper need or concern. The ask, "Can you get me a sales report for the last quarter?" The QBQ, "I'm worried our growth is slowing and I need to report to my boss next week. I need to know if we're on track and if not, why?" An employee who just hears the ask will produce the report.
An employee who understands the QBQ will produce the report and include a one-paragraph summary on the cover. Sales are up 5% overall, driven by the new enterprise client. However, our mid-market segment is down 8%, which appears to be the main area of concern. That person didn't just provide data, they provided insight. They saved their boss an hour of analysis and mental energy. They anticipated the next question and answered it before it was asked. This is the skill Brenda used. The ask was order banners. The QBQ was how do we make our booth successful? Chapter 3 Summary, the takeaway. Anticipation is a skill, not a gift. It's a trainable discipline that moves you from a reactive doer to a proactive anchor. Practice second-order thinking. Don't just consider the immediate consequence of an action or event. Always ask yourself the critical follow-up question, and then what happens? This reveals deeper risks and opportunities. Find the question behind the question, QBQ. When you get a request, pause and ask what deeper need or anxiety is driving it. Answering the unasked question is one of the fastest ways to build trust and demonstrate strategic value. From insight to action. The and then what game. Pick one project you are currently working on. Write down a potential positive outcome, e.g., we finish ahead of schedule. Now play the and then what game at least 3 times, e.g., first order, we have more time, and then what? Second order, we could use that time to add a surprise delight feature. And then what? Third order, that could generate positive buzz on social media. Do the same for a potential negative outcome. Uncover one QBQ this week. In your next one-on-one with your manager, when you receive a new task, try to gently probe for the QBQ. You can use a simple phrase like, "Happy to get that for you. To make sure I get you exactly what you need, could you give me a little context on how it will be used?"
Chapter 4. Your Boss's Boss. Thinking 2 Levels Up. Javier was the best financial analyst at his company. His reports were legendary, meticulously researched, perfectly formatted, and filled with dozens of pages of supporting data. He would spend 40 hours building a single report, and it would be flawless. But his career was stalled. His boss, the director of finance, seemed appreciative, but never championed him for bigger roles. The reason was simple, but Javier couldn't see it. The director's boss, the CFO, was an incredibly busy executive who only cared about 3 things: the big picture, the key takeaways, and the primary risk. When Javier's boss took his 50-page, perfect report into a meeting with the CFO, it was useless. The CFO didn't have time for that. She needed the answer on 1 page in 5 bullet points. Javier was optimizing for the wrong audience. He was doing an A+ job for himself, a B- job for his boss, who had to spend hours summarizing the report, and an F job for his boss's boss. To become an anchor, it's not enough to anticipate the needs of your immediate role. You have to learn to think 2 levels up. Your value is determined not just by how much you help your boss, but by how much your work helps your boss succeed in the eyes of their boss. The power of commander's intent. In the military, there's a concept called commander's intent.
A good commander doesn't just give their soldiers a series of orders, take that hill. They also explain the why behind the orders. Our intent is to control the high ground so we can protect the convoy in the valley below. Why is this so powerful? Because if the soldiers encounter an unexpected obstacle, say the hill is too heavily fortified, they don't just stop. They don't need to wait for new orders. Because they know the intent, they can adapt. They might realize there's another smaller hill that also accomplishes the goal of protecting the convoy. They can improvise and still achieve the mission. Your goal is to understand your commander's intent. What is the ultimate goal your boss's boss is trying to achieve? Is it market share growth? Is it improving customer retention? Is it cutting costs? Once you know that, you can frame all of your work in that context. You stop being a task doer and start being a mission driver. Mapping the organizational terrain. Thinking 2 levels up sounds difficult, but you can gather the intelligence you need by becoming an organizational detective.
Listen in all-hands meetings. When the CEO or other senior leaders speak, what words do they use repeatedly? What metrics do they show on their slides? These are massive clues about their priorities. Read company communications. Don't just skim the quarterly earnings report or the annual strategic plan. Read it like a treasure map. The company is telling you exactly what it values. If they mention efficiency 12 times, that's a signal. Ask your boss directly. This is the simplest way. Frame it collaboratively. Ask, to make sure my work is as helpful as possible for you, could you help me understand the biggest thing you're on the hook for with boss's boss name this quarter? This isn't nosy. It's a sign of deeply engaged employee. When you start connecting your daily tasks to these higher-level goals, your value skyrockets. You're no longer just Javier, the guy who builds reports. You're Javier, the analyst who helps us see the profitability risks the CFO is worried about. One is a function, the other is a strategic asset. Chapter 4, Summary, the takeaway. Your audience is not just your boss. Your ultimate goal is to do work that helps your boss succeed in the eyes of their leader. Think 2 levels up. Understand the commander's intent. Don't just focus on the what, the task. Understand the why, the ultimate strategic goal. This allows you to adapt, improvise, and add value beyond the original instructions. Become an organizational detective. You can discover high-level priorities by carefully listening in company-wide meetings, reading official reports, and asking your boss for context about their goals. From insight to action. Identify the commander's intent. Based on what you know right now, what do you believe is the single most important objective for your boss's boss this year? Write it down in 1 sentence. Next to it, write down one way your current project connects to that objective. Frame your next update. The next time you give your boss an update on a project, don't just list the tasks you completed. Frame it in the context of a higher-level goal. Instead of, I finished the client survey, try, I finished the client survey and the early data suggests we're making good progress on the customer retention goal that boss's boss talked about last month. Chapter 5, The Curiosity Compass, asking the questions no one else is asking.
There is a pervasive, crippling fear in the modern workplace, the fear of looking stupid. This fear keeps smart people silent in meetings. It stops them from asking the one simple question that could prevent a multi-million-dollar mistake. Most people believe their value comes from having the answers. Anchors understand that their value often comes from asking the right questions. Maria was the quietest person on her product team. She rarely spoke during the first 45 minutes of any meeting. She just listened, her pen scratching notes on a legal pad. But when she did speak, everyone stopped to listen. Because she wouldn't state an opinion. She would ask a question. While everyone else was debating the color of a button on a new app, Maria would pipe up with, I'm sorry, I might have missed this earlier, but have we confirmed our assumption that our users actually want this feature in the first place? Silence. The entire room would turn. It was the one question no one had thought to ask, but it was the only one that mattered. Maria's power didn't come from being the loudest. It came from her strategic curiosity. Curiosity is the engine of anticipation and higher-level thinking. Asking questions is how you gather the data you need to see the signal.
But not all questions are created equal. To be an anchor, you need to use a curiosity compass, a framework for asking questions that uncover value. The 4 points of the curiosity compass. Imagine a compass. Each direction points toward a different type of clarifying question. North, the goal question. These questions clarify purpose and intent. They fight against misaligned work. This is the commander's intent tool from Chapter 4. What does success look like for this project? To make sure I'm focused on the right thing, what is the single most important outcome here? East, the risk question. These questions probe for weaknesses and anticipate problems. They are the tool for second-order thinking. What is one thing that could make this whole project fail? Have we considered the impact this will have on the support team? West, the assumption question. These are the most powerful and difficult questions. They challenge the hidden beliefs that can lead a team astray. This is Maria's specialty. What assumption are we making here that we haven't confirmed? What if the opposite were true? South, the execution question. These questions create clarity around practical next steps.
They prevent ambiguity and ensure everyone is on the same page. Just so I'm perfectly clear, who exactly is responsible for the next step? By when do we need a final decision on this? How to ask without being annoying? Of course, a barrage of questions can be irritating. The key is skill and timing. Do your homework first. Never ask a question you could have answered yourself with a 5-minute search. Earn the right to ask. Build up a bank of trust by being reliable and effective first. Your questions will carry more weight. Bundle your questions. Instead of interrupting multiple times, it's often better to listen, collect your thoughts, and ask 2 or 3 well-thought-out questions at an appropriate moment. Strategic curiosity doesn't make you look stupid. It makes you look brilliant. It signals that you are thinking on a deeper level, not just about the what, but about the why, how, and what if. Chapter 5 Summary. The takeaway. Questions create value. Your value comes as much from the questions you ask as the answers you provide. Strategic curiosity is a sign of engagement and intelligence. Use the curiosity compass. Frame your questions to probe for different types of information. Goal, north, risk, east, assumptions, west, and execution, south. Ask with skill. Avoid being disruptive by doing your homework, earning the right to ask, and bundling your questions for maximum impact and minimum annoyance. From insight to action. Calibrate your compass. Look at your calendar for the next week. Pick one meeting. Before you go in, use the curiosity compass to write down one question for each of the 4 directions, N, C, S, W, related to the meeting's topic. You don't have to ask them all, but the act of preparing them will change how you listen. The 5-minute pre-question drill. Before you send your next significant email or go to your next important meeting, take 5 minutes to ask yourself, what is one question I can ask that will clarify the goal, reduce a risk, or prevent a bad assumption? This simple drill will build the habit of strategic curiosity.
Principle 2. Own the outcome. If seeing the signal is about what you perceive, owning the outcome is about what you do next. It is the active, conscious decision to take responsibility not just for your assigned tasks, but for the success of the mission behind those tasks. This is the principle that builds deep, unshakable trust. Think of it like this. Your boss is juggling a dozen glass balls. Most employees see a ball heading their way and get ready to catch it and hand it back. They're focused on the transaction. An anchor sees the ball coming, but they also see that their boss is starting to wobble. They don't just catch their assigned ball. They steady their boss, glance around to see if any other balls are about to drop, and absorb the pressure of the moment. They don't just handle the task. They own the outcome. Owning the outcome means shifting your internal monologue from "what do I need to do" to "what needs to get done for us to succeed." It's a subtle but profound change in mindset. It transforms you from a hired hand into a psychological owner. This principle is built on 3 progressive skills: making unbreakable promises, solving problems instead of just spotting them, and finally, having the courage to disagree when it matters most. Chapter 6. The Unbreakable Promise. The Power of Radical Reliability. 2 project managers, Greg and Simone, were given identical assignments by their manager. Get a quote from the video production company for the new campaign ads. Greg replied instantly, "I'm on it." His manager felt a brief moment of relief, but then, silence. 2 days passed. The manager's anxiety started to creep back. Is Greg working on it? Did the vendor reply? Do I need to follow up? Greg had created an open loop. On day 3, he forwarded the quote with the message, "Here you go." He had completed the task, but he had generated 48 hours of low-grade stress for his boss. Simone received the same assignment. She replied, "On it. I'll reach out to them today, give them a 24-hour deadline for a response, and I'll have a quote or a status update on your desk by EOD tomorrow." Notice the difference. Simone didn't just accept the task, she defined the process and set a clear expectation. Her boss felt relief, but this time it lasted. She didn't have to think about it again because Simone had already built the timeline and the check-in. The next day at 4 p.m., Simone sent a message. As promised, here is the quote. "They came in 10% under budget. I've already scheduled a 15-minute call for us to review it tomorrow. No action needed from you until then." Greg made a promise. Simone made an unbreakable promise. This is the foundation of radical reliability. Beyond deadlines, the do-say ratio. Radical reliability isn't just about hitting deadlines. It's about creating psychological safety for your leader by ensuring your commitments are ironclad. The best way to measure this is with a personal metric I call the do-say ratio. The do-say ratio is the simple relationship between what you say you will do and what you actually do. Every time you say, "I'll have that to you by Friday," you are making a deposit into your trust account. If you deliver it on Friday, your do-say ratio is 1-to-1. If you deliver it on Monday, your ratio slips. If you forget completely, it plummets. A doer might have a do-say ratio of 0.8-to-1. They get most things done, but they're a little shaky. Managing them requires constant follow-up. An anchor strives for a 1-to-1 do-say ratio. Their word is their bond. This doesn't mean they are perfect or never face delays. It means that even their communication about delays is reliable. Unreliable. The deadline passes in silence. Radically reliable. Quick update. I'm running into an unexpected issue with the data. I'm still confident I can get this done, but to be safe, I think the deadline might slip from EOD today to 9 a.m. tomorrow. Does that cause any issues on your end? This proactive communication maintains a 1-to-1 do-say ratio. You said you would deliver a report, you delivered a reliable update instead, and you kept the outcome under control. You kept the loop closed. The trust remains intact. Building your unbreakable promise. Under-promise, over-deliver wisely. Don't just give the most optimistic timeline. Build in a small private buffer. If you think something will take 2 days, promise it in 3. Delivering early is a powerful way to build trust. Use proactive check-ins. For any task that takes more than a day, a simple one-line check-in can be magic. Just wanted to let you know I'm on track with the report. This takes you 10 seconds and saves your boss from a dozen mental pop-up ads. Explicitly close the loop. When you finish, don't just send the work. Close the loop. Use the magic words, "This is done." It provides a satisfying sense of completion and erases the task from their mental to-do list. Radical reliability is the bedrock of trust.
It's the first and most important way you demonstrate that you own the outcome. Chapter 6. Summary. The takeaway. Embrace radical reliability. This goes beyond just doing the work. It's about proactively managing expectations and communication to create psychological safety for your leader. Mind your do-say ratio. The currency of trust is the ratio of what you say you'll do versus what you actually do. A 1-to-1 ratio is the gold standard of an anchor. Communicate proactively, not reactively. If there's a delay, You are the one who communicates it first. Proactive updates about problems are a sign of ownership and maintain your high do-say ratio. From insight to action. Audit your ratio. For 1 week, keep a small notebook. Every time you make a commitment to your boss, a colleague, or even yourself, write it down. At the end of the week, honestly assess your do-say ratio. Where did you succeed? Where did you fall short? Practice the proactive update. Pick one project you're working on. Schedule a calendar reminder for halfway to the deadline. When it pops up, send your boss a one-sentence update. FYI, progress on Project X is going well and we're on track. Learn the done ritual. For the next 5 tasks you complete, use the explicit phrase, "This is now done and no further action is needed," in your final communication. Feel how it changes the dynamic from a simple handoff to a formal closing of a mental loop. Chapter 7. From Problem Spotter to Problem Solver. There are 2 types of people in the world: those who bring you problems and those who bring you solutions. Your career trajectory will be defined by which one you choose to be. Picture this scene. A project is going off the rails. Carter, a diligent team member, walks into his manager's office. "I have bad news," he says. "Our key supplier for the event just called. Their factory flooded. They can't deliver the materials we need next week. We have a huge problem." He stands there, waiting for instructions, having successfully passed the stress monkey from his back to his managers. Now picture Olivia. She walks into the same office an hour later. "I have a challenge to report, but I think it's manageable. Our key supplier's factory flooded, so they can't deliver next week. I've spent the last hour on the phone. I have 2 potential solutions for you." She slides a single piece of paper onto the desk. Option A. A local supplier can get us similar materials. They cost 15% more, but can deliver on time. This is the safest option. Option B. Our original supplier has a sister factory in another state. They can get us the materials, but it will be a 3-day delay. We could make up the time by working next weekend. This is the cheaper but higher stress option. My recommendation. I think we should go with option A. The extra cost is worth the peace of mind. What are your thoughts? Who is more valuable? Who is behaving like a leader? Who owns the outcome? Olivia didn't just spot the problem, she wrestled with it. She absorbed the initial stress, did the hard work of finding solutions, and presented her manager not with a crisis, but with a decision. This is the single greatest gift you can give a busy leader. The 3-step solution framework. Becoming a problem solver is not about having all the answers. It's about having a process. The next time you encounter a problem, resist the urge to immediately report it. Instead, take a moment and use this simple framework. Clearly define the problem. State the issue concisely. No drama, no blame. Just the facts. The issue is X. For example, the client rejected our latest design proposal. Outline 2 to 3 potential solutions. This is the crucial step. Brainstorm viable paths forward. Briefly list the pros and cons of each. This shows you've thought through the consequences. For example, option 1 is to do a quick revision based on their feedback. Pro, fast. Con, might not be enough. Option 2 is to schedule a workshop with them to understand their core concerns. Pro, better long-term solution. Con, slower. State your recommendation. This is the mark of true ownership. Based on your analysis, which option do you endorse? This shows you aren't afraid to have a point of view. I recommend option 2. I think the time investment now will save us more revisions later. This framework turns you from a source of stress into a source of relief. You are not delegating up, you are partnering to move forward. Chapter 7 Summary. The takeaway. Don't just bring problems, bring solutions. Anyone can point out what's wrong. Anchors take the next step to figure out how to make it right. This is a critical shift from passive employee to active leader. Use the 3-step solution framework. When faced with a problem, use this process before reporting it. Clearly define the problem, outline 2 to 3 potential solutions, and state your recommendation. Give the gift of a decision. By presenting pre-analyzed options, you are saving your manager immense time and cognitive energy. You are not giving them a crisis to solve. You are giving them a decision to make. From insight
to action. The 15-minute rule. The next time you hit a roadblock, set a timer for 15 minutes. Before you tell anyone about the problem, use that time to brainstorm potential solutions, no matter how small. Practice on a past problem. Think of a problem you or your team faced in the last month. On a piece of paper, run it through the 3-step solution framework. How might the situation have been different if the problem had been presented this way? Draft a solution-first email. Find a low-stakes issue you need to flag. Instead of writing, "Hi boss, we have a problem with X," draft the email using the framework. Even if you don't send it, the practice of structuring your thoughts this way is invaluable. Chapter 8. The Art of Productive Disagreement. Pushing back without pushing away. This is the chapter that terrifies most people, and it's the one that, when mastered, will separate you from the pack more than any other. To truly own the outcome, you must be willing to do the hardest thing of all. Tell your boss you think they are wrong. The desire to be agreeable is human. We are wired to avoid conflict. But in a professional setting, a culture where nobody can question a bad idea is a culture doomed to fail. The most valuable people are not the ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones who know when and how to say no, or more accurately, not like that. I call this productive disagreement. It's the skill of challenging an idea in a way that is respectful, solution-oriented, and ultimately strengthens the final outcome. It's disagreeing with an idea without being disagreeable. Consider a team meeting where a senior leader proposes a new aggressive project timeline. Everyone in the room knows it's unrealistic. You can see it in their faces. The ghost says nothing, fearing conflict. The rocket blurts out, "That's impossible. There's no way we can do that." This is honest, but creates friction. The anchor waits for the right moment and says, "I am 100% committed to the goal of getting this done quickly. To help me build the most effective plan, could you help me understand which is more important, hitting the June 30th date exactly, or ensuring we have 0 critical bugs at launch?"
That will help me figure out where to prioritize resources. The anchor didn't say no. They didn't create a confrontation. They reframed the conversation around shared goals and trade-offs. They made themselves a partner in solving the puzzle, not an obstacle to the plan. How to disagree productively. A playbook. Productive disagreement is not about winning an argument. It's about arriving at the best answer together. As Brené Brown says, clear is kind. Unclear is unkind. Letting your team walk toward a cliff out of the fear of speaking up is not kind. Here are phrases that can help you push back productively. Align with the goal, question the method. I completely agree that improving client retention is our top priority. I'm concerned that this specific approach might accidentally alienate our highest value clients. Have we considered? Ask for more context. The curiosity compass. That's an interesting approach. To make sure I fully understand your thinking, could you walk me through how you see us overcoming the potential X risk? Play the devil's advocate. Depersonalize it. This seems like a solid plan. Just to make it even stronger, would it be okay if I'd play the devil's advocate for a moment? Offer an alternative. The solution framework. I see the value in that timeline. I have an alternative idea that might be slightly slower, but could significantly reduce our implementation risk. Would you be open to hearing it? The key is that your pushback must come from a place of shared purpose. You are not protecting your turf. You are protecting the project. You are not challenging your boss. You are stress testing their idea. When your boss knows you are utterly reliable and always focused on solutions, they will see your disagreement not as a threat, but as a final, valuable quality check from one of their most trusted advisors. Chapter 8 Summary. The takeaway. Disagreement is a form of ownership. True ownership requires having the courage to prevent a bad outcome, even if it means challenging an idea from a superior. Be productive, not adversarial. The goal is not to win an argument, but to arrive at the best answer together. Frame your disagreement around shared goals, curiosity, and a commitment to the mission. Earn the right to disagree. Your ability to push back productively is built on the foundation you create by being radically reliable and solution-oriented. From insight to action.
Script your disagreement. Think of a time in the past when you wanted to disagree but didn't. Write down exactly what you would have said using one of the productive disagreement scripts from this chapter. Rehearsing it makes it easier to do in the future. Find a low-stakes opportunity. You don't have to start by challenging the CEO. Find a low-stakes environment, a team meeting about a minor issue, a one-on-one about a process detail. Try asking a clarifying question like, "Help me understand the thinking behind that," when you have a doubt. Assess your boss's style. Observe how your manager reacts when others push back. Are they open to it? Do they shut it down? Understanding their style will help you tailor your approach for maximum effectiveness.
Principle 3. Amplify the clarity. We live in an age of information overload. We are drowning in data, flooded with emails, and bombarded by notifications. In this environment, the person who creates more noise is a nuisance. The person who creates clarity is a leader. Amplify the clarity is the third and final pillar of the anchor effect. It is the active skill of cutting through the noise to make the complex simple, the ambiguous clear, and the unspoken understood. If seeing the signal is about perception and owning the outcome is about action, amplifying the clarity is about transmission. It ensures that your insights and actions are received and understood with minimal effort from others. It is the ultimate act of reducing your manager's cognitive load. An anchor is a signal amplifier. They take the weak, staticky signals of organizational life, a confusing strategy, a complex project, an unspoken need, and they boost them, filter out the noise, and rebroadcast them as a clear, powerful message that everyone can understand. This principle isn't about being a great orator or a Shakespearean writer. It's about mastering a few simple, powerful communication habits that turn you from a source of information into a source of intelligence. Chapter 9. Closing the Loop, the most underrated communication skill. Imagine your boss, Megan, has two direct reports, Wyatt and Nora. At 9 a.m., she sends them both the same request via chat. "Could you please pull the latest customer satisfaction scores for Project Apollo? I need them for a presentation." Wyatt reads the message and immediately starts working. He digs into the database, exports the numbers, and starts formatting the spreadsheet. In his mind, he's being efficient. In Megan's mind, there is only a void. An hour passes. She starts to wonder, did Wyatt see my message? Is the data hard to find? Did he run into a problem? Should I just do it myself? The task, now delegated, has not been removed from her mental RAM. It's still there, a tiny nagging open loop draining her attention. Nora, meanwhile, receives the same message. Her response, sent 10 seconds later, is, "Got it, on it now." Megan's brain exhales. The loop is provisionally closed. She knows the message was received and the task is in motion. 20 minutes later, Nora sends another message. The data is pulled. It looks like the scores are down 5% this month, mainly due to the server outage last week.
I'm putting it in a clean format for you now. Should be in your inbox in 10 minutes. Megan now has full clarity. She knows the status, the key insight, and the timeline for delivery. The task is completely off her mind. She can focus on building her presentation. Both Wyatt and Nora delivered the data, but Nora didn't just deliver a spreadsheet. She delivered peace of mind. She is a master of closing the loop. The science of relief, defeating the Zeigarnik effect. As we touched on in Chapter 1, the Zeigarnik effect is the brain's tendency to obsess over unfinished tasks. An open loop is a cognitive nuisance.
It's the nagging feeling you get when you've sent an important email and haven't gotten a reply. Your brain keeps it in an active, ready state, consuming background mental energy. Your boss lives in a world of open loops. They delegate dozens of tasks a day, and each one becomes a new open loop in their mind until they get confirmation of its completion. Closing the loop is the simple, powerful micro-habit of proactively providing the signals that allow your manager to mark a task as handled in their brain. It is one of the most effective, low-effort ways to reduce their cognitive load. There are 3 key moments to close a loop. The acknowledgement, the moment a task is assigned. A simple "got it," "received," or "on it" works wonders. It confirms receipt and closes the first loop. Did they see my request? The proactive update, for longer tasks, if a task takes more than a few hours, a brief midpoint update prevents new loops from opening. Quick update, I'm on track. This closes the loop. I wonder how that's going. The final confirmation. When the task is finished, state it explicitly. This is done. This closes the final, most important loop and deletes it from their mental cache. This isn't about sending more emails. It's about sending smarter, more surgically precise communications that are engineered to provide relief. Chapter 9 Summary. The takeaway. Your boss's brain hates open loops. Delegated tasks create mental anxiety for a manager until they know the task is completed, the Zeigarnik effect. Closing the loop is a micro-habit with a macro impact. It's the simple practice of sending short, proactive signals to confirm receipt, progress, and completion.
Engineer your communication for relief. The goal of your updates isn't just to convey information, it's to give the recipient the gift of taking one more thing off their mind. From insight to action, the got it reflex. For the next 2 days, make it a personal rule to respond to every single request from your boss and colleagues with a simple acknowledgement within 10 minutes. Got it? Will do, or received. Notice how it changes the dynamic. The 24-hour rule. If you are given a task that will take more than 24 hours, set a calendar reminder to send a 1-sentence proactive update at the 24-hour mark. FYI, still on track with X. Master the final confirmation. For the next week, end every email that completes a task with an explicit closing statement. This task is now complete, or this is done. Chapter 10. The one-page mind. How to make the complex simple. The marketing team had spent a month analyzing the results of a massive customer survey. They had a 70-slide presentation deck filled with charts, graphs, and thousands of data points. It was a masterpiece of thorough research. It was also completely overwhelming. The day before they were set to present to the company's new VP of product, their manager was visibly stressed. She's only giving us 30 minutes. We'll never get through all of this. She's going to get lost in the details. Leo, a junior analyst on the team, saw the panic. That evening, he did something radical. He took the entire 70-page deck and forced himself to answer 3 questions. What is the single most important thing the VP needs to know? What are the 3 data points that best support that finding? And what is the one thing we need from her? He created a single slide. At the top, in a large font, it read, "Key finding. Our power users hate the new checkout process, and it's our biggest churn risk." Below, he had 3 bullet points with the most damning statistics. At the bottom, it said, "Recommendation. Authorize a 2-week Tiger team to redesign and test a new flow." The next day, as the presentation started to go off the rails with the dense slides, Leo's manager called an audible. "You know what? Let's just jump to the chase." He put Leo's one slide on the screen. The VP fell silent. She read the entire slide in 30 seconds. She looked up and said, "Okay, you have your Tiger team. Who's leading it?" Leo didn't just summarize data. He created clarity. He demonstrated a one-page mind.
Bluff. Bottom line up front. The one-page mind is the ability to synthesize vast amounts of complexity into a simple, powerful, and actionable message. In a world of information abundance, synthesis is a superpower.
The U.S. military has a guiding principle for all communication, BLUF, which stands for bottom line up front. Don't build up to your point. Don't save the conclusion for the end. State the most important piece of information first and then provide the supporting details. Leaders don't have time for a mystery novel. They need the headline, fast. Your job is to be the editor who provides it. A simple structure for any update, email, or summary. The headline. Start with the single most important finding or recommendation. E.g., the project is on track, but we have an emerging budget risk. The supporting points, max 3. Provide the 2 to 3 most critical pieces of data or context that support your headline. Keep them as bullet points. The ask or next step. Clearly state what you need or what will happen next. No action needed, this is just an FYI. Or, I recommend we approve the budget increase. This structure respects your leader's time and intelligence. It gives them the answer first, then allows them to choose if they want to dig deeper. It flips the standard communication model on its head and makes you a source of instant clarity. Chapter 10 Summary, the takeaway. Synthesis is a superpower. In a complex world, the person who can make things simple is the most valuable person in the room. Cultivate a one-page mind. Practice BLUF, bottom line up front. Lead with your conclusion, not with your backstory. Give leaders the answer first. Structure for clarity. Use a simple headline, supporting points, ask structure for your emails and updates to make them instantly digestible. From insight to action. The 3-bullet email. For the next week, force yourself to write every internal email with no more than 3 sentences or 3 bullet points. This will train you to be concise. The 1-pager challenge. Find the longest document you received recently, a report, a proposal, a presentation. Set a timer for 20 minutes and challenge yourself to summarize its core message on a single page using the BLUF structure. The headline test. Before you send your next update, write a newspaper-style headline for it. If you can't summarize your point in one compelling sentence, your message isn't clear enough yet.
Chapter 11. Managing Up, Sideways, and Down, Becoming a Communications Hub. A critical new project was floundering. The engineering team was waiting on final designs from the marketing team, who was waiting on a budget approval from the finance team, who was waiting on a spec document from engineering. Everyone was stuck, and everyone was subtly blaming everyone else. The project chat was a quiet battlefield of passive-aggressive updates. Paige was the project manager, and her boss was getting nervous. But Paige was an anchor. She realized the problem wasn't a lack of effort, it was a lack of a sensual, clear source of truth. So she did something simple. Every Friday morning, she sent a single 3-paragraph email to the leads of all 3 teams. Paragraph 1. Progress. This week, engineering completed the draft specs. Marketing produced 2 initial design mock-ups. Great progress, team. Paragraph 2. Blockers. Our main blocker is the budget. Finance is waiting on the final spec doc to approve it. Engineering is waiting on a final design to finalize the specs. Paragraph 3. The way forward. To solve this, I've scheduled a 30-minute meeting for us at 10 a.m. today. The goal is for engineering and marketing to agree on a good enough design so we can finalize the specs and unlock the budget. Please come prepared to make a decision. Suddenly, the fog lifted. The blame game stopped. Paige wasn't just managing up to her boss, she was amplifying clarity sideways across the entire project. She had become the communications hub. The project was back on track by Monday. From communicator to hub. The final level of amplifying clarity is to apply these skills in every direction. An anchor understands that their boss's success depends on the smooth functioning of the entire team and organization. By becoming a trusted hub of clear communication, you multiply your value exponentially. Managing sideways, peers. This is about becoming a translator. You learn to speak the language of different departments. You translate marketing's goals into terms engineering can understand, and finance's constraints into terms marketing can respect. You summarize, clarify, and connect the dots so your peers don't have to. This builds immense trust and makes you a natural leader for cross-functional projects. Managing down. direct reports. If you are a manager, amplifying clarity is your most important job.
It means providing crystal clear, commander's intent, Chapter 4, ensuring your team knows the why behind the what. It means using the principles of closing loops and bluff to make your own communications models of efficiency. When you are a clear communicator, your team becomes more autonomous and effective. Becoming a communications hub doesn't mean you're in every meeting or copied on every email. It means you are the person who people trust to provide the clear, concise, and unbiased summary of what's going on. You absorb the complexity from all directions and radiate clarity back out. This is leadership in its purest form, and it has nothing to do with your title. Chapter 11, Summary, the takeaway. Clarity radiates. The highest level of this skill is to amplify clarity not just for your boss, up, but for your peers, sideways, and your team, down. Become a translator. Learn the languages of different departments and help them understand each other. This reduces organizational friction and makes you an invaluable hub. Leadership is clarity. True leadership isn't about having all the ideas. It's about creating an environment where good ideas can thrive. That environment is built on a foundation of clear, consistent, and trusted communication. From insight to action. The who else needs to know check. For the next week, before you send any significant project update, ask yourself this one question. Who else on another team would benefit from knowing this? Add them to the CC line with a brief note like, FYI for the marketing team. The cross-functional coffee. Identify a key person on a team you frequently work with. Invite them for a 15-minute coffee, virtual or in person. Don't talk about a specific project. Ask them, what's the biggest thing your team is focused on right now? What does success look like for you this quarter? Listen, you are gathering intelligence to be a better translator. Practice a sideways summary. The next time a project you're on reaches a small milestone, write a one-paragraph summary of the progress and next steps. But write it so that a person from a completely different department, like legal or HR, could understand it perfectly. This is the ultimate test of clarity. Chapter 12, The Anchor in Action. Case Studies in Career Transformation. Theory is a map. Action is the journey. For the past 11 chapters, we have drawn the map for becoming an anchor. We've explored the mindset of seeing the signal, the discipline of owning the outcome, and the superpower of amplifying clarity. But what does it look like when someone puts the map down and starts the journey? What does it look like in the real world of demanding bosses, messy projects, and office politics? The anchor effect is not an abstract philosophy. It is a set of observable behaviors that create tangible results. To show you how, let's step into the lives of 3 professionals who were stuck in the performance paradox. They were all hardworking and talented, but they felt invisible, frustrated, or stalled. And they all used the principles of the anchor effect to fundamentally transform their careers. As you read their stories, don't just see them as characters, see them as mirrors. See their struggles in your own, and more importantly, see their potential for change as your own. Case Study 1, Devin, the Brilliant Ghost. The before state. Devin was a senior software engineer at a cloud computing company. He was, by every technical measure, a genius. He could solve complex algorithmic problems in his sleep. When a difficult bug appeared, he was the one who could find it and fix it. But in promotion cycles, he was consistently overlooked for the role of tech lead. His manager's feedback was always the same. Devin, your code is incredible, but we need leaders to be more vocal, more involved in the why. Devin was a classic ghost. He did his work in silence, believing his brilliant code should speak for itself. He felt deeply misunderstood and was starting to grow cynical. The anchor in action. After a particularly frustrating performance review, Devin decided to try a different approach. He didn't try to change his personality and become a loud extrovert. Instead, he focused on becoming an anchor. See the signal. He started using the curiosity compass in planning meetings. Instead of just accepting a feature request, he began asking goal questions like, "To make sure I build this right, can you tell me what user problem we are trying to solve with this feature?" This small shift changed his reputation from a coder to a product-minded engineer. Own the outcome. He knew the team had a massive amount of technical debt, old, messy code that slowed everyone down but that nobody wanted to fix. It was a problem everyone spotted but no one solved. He spent a weekend mapping out the biggest areas of debt and used the 3-step solution framework.
He presented his manager with a one-page document. 1. The problem. Our tech debt is slowing new feature development by an estimated 20%. 2. The solutions. A. We can dedicate a 2-week sprint to fix it, or B. We can dedicate every Friday for the next quarter. 3. The recommendation. I recommend option B to minimize disruption. His manager was stunned. Devin had taken ownership of the team's ugliest problem. Amplified the clarity. Devin realized his non-technical product managers were often intimidated by the team's jargon. He started a simple habit. At the end of every week, he posted a 3-bullet-point summary in the team chat, written in plain English, explaining what the engineering team had accomplished. He was making the complex simple and becoming a trusted translator. The result? 6 months later, a new tech lead position opened up. This time there was no debate. Devin was the only choice. He hadn't changed who he was. He was still a quiet, focused engineer. But he had learned to make his value visible and his impact felt. He had become an anchor. Case Study 2. Ainsley, the passionate rocket. The before state. Ainsley was a marketing manager at a retail company. She was creative, energetic, and full of big ideas, a classic rocket. She would come into meetings with dazzling proposals for new campaigns. But her projects often felt chaotic. She would overwhelm her team with a dozen new ideas before the first one was finished. She constantly felt frustrated that other departments, like sales and finance, were slowing her down. She was seen as a brilliant fire starter, but not as a reliable leader who could see a project through to the end. The anchor in action. Ainsley's turning point came when her boss told her, "Your ideas are fantastic, but your team is exhausted." She realized her passion was being perceived as pressure. She decided to channel her energy. See the signal. She stopped focusing on just her team's creative ideas and started thinking 2 levels up. Before planning the next quarter's campaigns, she scheduled a meeting with the VP of Sales to understand his team's biggest challenges. She learned his team was struggling with lead quality, not quantity. This commander's intent completely changed her marketing strategy from broad awareness to targeted, high-quality lead generation. Own the outcome. The sales team wanted a big, splashy, but expensive campaign.
Ainsley's data suggested a smaller, more targeted digital campaign would be more effective. Instead of just agreeing, she used productive disagreement. She told the VP of Sales, "I love the ambition of your idea. My only concern is the cost per lead. I've mocked up an alternative plan that I believe can get us higher quality leads for 50% of the cost. Can I walk you through it?" By aligning with his goal, but questioning the method, she earned his respect and got her better plan approved. Amplify the clarity. Ainsley realized the friction between teams came from a lack of shared information. She started sending a single weekly email called the 5-minute marketing update. It used the BLUF structure, bottom line up front. It went to her team, the sales team, and the product team. She had become the communications hub and a predictable source of truth. The result? Ainsley didn't get a promotion in title right away. She got something better. She was asked to lead a new, company-wide task force to improve the entire customer journey, from first ad to final purchase. She was no longer just a marketing manager. She was seen as a strategic leader who could unite different parts of the business. Case Study 3. Franklin, the dependable brick. The before state. Franklin was a program coordinator at a mid-sized nonprofit. He was the definition of a brick, utterly dependable, kind, and meticulous. If you gave him a task, organize the annual donor gala, process the volunteer applications, send out the newsletter, it would get done perfectly. He had been in the same role for 6 years. He was loved, but he was also taken for granted. He felt stagnant and invisible, watching younger, less experienced colleagues move up. The anchor in action. Franklin decided his goal wasn't just to be reliable, but to be indispensable. He focused on the small, consistent habits of an anchor. See the signal. Franklin's job was to plan the annual donor gala. For years, he focused on the event itself. Using second-order thinking, he started asking, and then what happens? He realized that after the gala, there was no formal process for following up with new donors. He created a simple 3-step follow-up plan to improve donor retention, anticipating a need his overworked executive director hadn't even had time to consider. Only outcome. Franklin made radical reliability his personal brand. He lived by his do-say ratio.
His executive director, constantly pulled in a million directions, came to see Franklin as an island of calm. When a problem arose, e.g., we're short on volunteers for the food drive, the old Franklin would have reported the problem. The new Franklin said, we're short on volunteers. I've already called the local community college and arranged to set up a recruitment table tomorrow. I think we can close the gap. He was a problem solver. Amplify the clarity. Franklin's greatest weapon became closing the loop. His boss was a classic open-loop sufferer. Franklin's simple "got it" messages and "this is now complete" emails were like a balm for her anxious mind. She once told him, "When I delegate something to you, Franklin, it's the only time I can truly forget about it until it's done." The result? When the director of operations retired, the board didn't even conduct an external search. They offered the job to Franklin. They realized that the skills he had demonstrated, foresight, total reliability, and operational clarity, were the exact skills needed to run the entire organization. Chapter 12, Summary. The takeaway. Transformation is possible for every archetype. Whether you're a quiet ghost like Devon, a chaotic rocket like Ainsley, or a steady brick like Franklin, the principles of the anchor effect provide a clear path for growth. Small habits create big changes. None of these individuals had a personality transplant. They adopted small, consistent habits, asking better questions, using a simple communication framework, closing loops, that added up to a massive shift in how they were perceived. The goal is impact, not title. The outcome of becoming an anchor isn't just a promotion. It's an increase in trust, responsibility, and the deep satisfaction that comes from being an indispensable contributor to a mission you care about. From insight to action. Write your own case study. On a piece of paper, write a short, honest before state for yourself. What is your archetype? What is your biggest frustration? Choose your first habit. You don't have to tackle everything at once. Pick one habit from one of these case studies that resonates most with you. Is it closing the loop? Using the 3-step solution framework? Thinking 2 levels up? Commit to practicing that one thing for the next 2 weeks. Define your after state. What would a successful transformation look like for you in 6 months? It doesn't have to be a new title. Maybe it's being trusted to lead a project you're passionate about. Maybe it's your boss finally taking your advice. Write it down. A clear destination makes the journey easier. Conclusion. Beyond the promotion, the anchor's purpose. We began this journey together with a simple, tantalizing title, 101 Ways to Please Your Boss and Get Promoted. It's a pragmatic promise and a worthy one.
The desire for recognition, for advancement, for the rewards that come with a bigger role is a powerful and valid motivator. And if you apply the principles in this book, if you learn to see the signal, own the outcome, and amplify the clarity, you will dramatically increase your chances of getting that promotion. You will become the person your leaders think of first when a new opportunity arises. You will earn the trust and respect that are the non-negotiable price of admission to any leadership role. But if a promotion is all you get from this book, then I have failed. Because the true purpose of becoming an anchor runs far deeper than a new title on your business card or a bigger number on your paycheck. The ultimate goal isn't to please your boss. The ultimate goal is to transform your relationship with your work, and in doing so, to transform yourself. The secret we've uncovered together is that the very same behaviors that make you indispensable to your organization are the ones that build a more fulfilling, satisfying, and purposeful life for yourself. Let's revisit the 3 pillars one last time, not as career tactics, but as a blueprint for a better way of living and working. The anchor's reward. Seeing the signal is about more than just anticipating the next business problem. It's about cultivating a life of proactive curiosity instead of passive reaction. It's about training your mind to look past the daily noise and see the deeper patterns, the hidden opportunities, and the unspoken needs of the people around you. This is the skill that turns you from a passenger in your own life into a thoughtful, intentional navigator. Owning the outcome is about more than just radical reliability at work. It's about forging an identity built on integrity and accountability. It's about becoming the person in your career, in your family, and in your community whose word is their bond. It's about having the courage to not just spot problems, but to take responsibility for solving them. This is the bedrock of self-respect.
Amplifying the clarity is about more than just writing concise emails. It's about becoming a force for understanding and connection in a world that is drowning in confusion and conflict. It's about having the empathy to translate, the wisdom to simplify, and the discipline to bring calm to chaos, whether it's in a boardroom, at a PTA meeting, or across the dinner table. This is the heart of true influence. The performance paradox traps us into thinking our value is in what we do. The anchor effect reveals that our true value is in who we are, how we show up, how we stabilize our environment, and how we empower others. The promotion is simply a lagging indicator of that transformation. It's the byproduct, not the prize. The anchor's purpose. The real prize is the person you become in the process. You become the person who can walk into any room, any situation, and bring a sense of order and purpose. You become the person colleagues trust with their biggest challenges, and leaders trust with their most important projects. You become the person who isn't buffeted by the winds of office politics or paralyzed by uncertainty, because you have your own internal system for creating stability. You become an anchor. And by becoming an anchor for others, you inevitably become an anchor for your own life, stable, purposeful, and in command of your own journey. This is a path away from the anxiety of feeling invisible and the frustration of feeling stuck. It is a path toward the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth is not based on external validation, but on the tangible value you create for others every single day. The journey doesn't end here. This book is not a destination. It's a compass. The real work and the real reward begins now. It begins with your next email, your next meeting, your next project, your next promise. Choose one habit. Start small. Be consistent. The effect will ripple outward, slowly at first, and then all at once. You won't just please your boss. You'll become a leader. And you won't just get a promotion. You'll build a career and a life of genuine purpose. It's time to weigh anchor and set sail. Your journey awaits. The 30-Day Anchor Challenge.
Transformation happens through action. Use this simple 30-day plan to start building the habits of an anchor. The goal is not perfection, but progress. Week 1. Amplify the clarity. Goal: become a source of relief, not noise. Daily habit: practice the got it reflex.
Acknowledge every request within 15 minutes. Weekly challenge: write every internal email using the 3-bullet point BLUFF structure. Headline, supporting points, ask. Week 2. Own the outcome. Goal: build a reputation for radical reliability. Daily habit: at the end of each day, review your do-say ratio. Did you do what you said you would do? Weekly challenge: identify one small recurring problem on your team. Use the 3-step solution framework to draft a 1-page plan to solve it and share it with a stakeholder. Week 3. See the signal. Goal: shift from a reactive to a proactive mindset. Daily habit: before any meeting, use the curiosity compass to prepare one question that clarifies a goal or uncovers a risk. Weekly challenge: have a 15-minute conversation with your boss with the sole purpose of understanding their commander's intent. Ask, what's the most important thing our team needs to accomplish for you this quarter? Week 4. Synthesize and solidify. Goal: integrate the skills and make them your own. Daily habit: pick one anchor habit from the previous 3 weeks and practice it consciously. Weekly challenge: find a sideways opportunity. Identify a point of friction between your team and another. Act as a translator or communications hub to smooth it over, even in a small way. Track your progress. Note your wins. At the end of 30 days, you won't just have learned the anchor effect. You will be living it.